Let's talk about choosing a digital mailbox service for your LLC. And it's really important to understand that when we talk about LLCs, we talk about a state regulatory affair, but you also have to think about LLC when it comes to your federal tax correspondence purposes. Okay, so let's talk about what are the steps you need to follow when it comes to choosing a digital mailbox service for your LLC. So here's the overview I want you to really pay attention to. So what is a virtual mailbox for LLC to start with? So a virtual mailbox is a digital mailbox service that contains scanned copies of your LLC postal mail, which you can access from your computer, tablet, or phone. Okay. And so when we talk about how you can access your postal mail virtually, we're talking about all kinds of platforms. Basically, the way it works is that you pick a physical address from a provider's list of available addresses. That becomes your LLC's virtual mailing address. This is the address you can use on your articles of incorporation, on your company paperwork with the state authorities. This is the address that you use when you open a business bank account for your LLC. This is the same address you use when you actually file your paperwork to get your EIN from the IRS, your employer identification number. So that address has to be consistent across the board. Now, the thing is that this address also has to be the address where you can receive official mail when it comes to your registered agent service. Okay. And so what happens here is that you pick a physical address from a provider's list of available addresses. Those providers can be iPostal 1, it can be VPM, Virtual Post Mail, it can be Global US Mail, it can be all kinds of providers. That's number one. Number two, your mail is received by the virtual mailbox provider for your LLC, and there the mail is scanned and uploaded so that you can view it. And some virtual mail provider will accept packages for your LLC and forward them to the address of your choice. And the third step here is that you decide what you want to do with your LLC mail. Some companies provide the option to store your LLC mail, share it, shred it, or connect it with other apps. And those apps can be a Dropbox, for instance, Google Drive, or QuickBooks Online. So it really depends upon the type of priority you have for your LLC mail. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. Let me give you the decision you need to really get into if you are trying to choose a virtual mailbox provider for your LLC. Let me quickly talk to you about some of the questions you need to ask. And those are important questions you need to ask when choosing a virtual mailbox provider for your LLC. The first thing is, what addresses do they have? See, you want to have a variety of geographies, a variety of locations here, especially if you have an LLC that is present in multiple states. If you happen to have an LLC in 10 states or 20 states, then you want to have a provider that has a multiplicity of locations. So one of the first considerations will be to have a virtual address that you choose in terms of your LLC. So if you are, let's say, if you have an LLC that revolves around your freelancing activity, you may want a street address that you can also use to register your business. If you are an expat or an RVer with, let's say, an LLC, this could be a single member LLC or a multi-member LLC, you may want a street address that you can also use, or you can go with a PO box. The bottom line here is that normally for registered agent services, the state authorities do not accept PO boxes, so it's just a lot better to go with a normal business address. So the first question is, what addresses does your virtual mailbox service have? The second thing is, what action can you take on your mail? So when they receive your LLC mail, what are the actions you can take? The thing is, to get the most value out of your virtual mailbox, your LLC virtual mailbox, you want to ask whether you can see a demonstration of the product to understand the scope of functionalities available to you. And if that's not possible, be sure to find out in what format they will receive, or you will receive your LLC mail. How does the service provider treat packages and checks that relates to your LLC? Can you easily export your information to other applications? What are your options for organizing your information as it relates to your LLC? Can you have multiple users on your account? This is important because if you have a let's say if you have a single member LLC, that's fine. But what if you have a multi-member LLC and they all want to have visibility into the whole process? Then you want your provider to be able to allow you to have multiple users on your account. And can you search for documents within the platform? This is an important element to really have in mind, because if you want to search for some data relating to your LLC, you want to have that flexibility. Very important. Boss, I want to really quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about how to choose a digital mailbox service for your LLC. Another question you want to ask the provider is, what network and physical security measures do they have? This is so quite essential because, when we talk about having a digital mailbox service for your LLC, we're talking about all kinds of sensitive data here, especially when we talk about official mail from state authorities, official registered agent service mail, or anything that relates to court orders, anything legal, anything financial. If you have if clients pay your LLC via checks, for example, and you want the check to be deposited, it's important that this virtual mailbox provider has a security protocol. And when we talk about security protocol, we are speaking about not only physical security, but also network security. So it has to be digital and also physical. Okay. And so you want to ask service providers what they do to safeguard their customers' private information. So you want to find out, do they rely on local partners like local businesses or postal shops for mail intake, or do they have independent operations? So while local partnerships might increase the number of addresses available to you, they may reduce the security of your mail. Remember, the security of your LLC mail is quite essential. You cannot compromise on that, especially if you are in a certain industry that sort of calls for extra regulation, like healthcare or financial services, for example. Another question you might want to ask is, are the people handling the mail items trained to handle confidential health and financial information, for instance? And again, as I said, there are certain industries that are highly regulated, and you want to make sure the people handling mail in those industries understand what they're doing. Are there security systems in place at the facilities that receive and store mail items for your LLC, for instance? And another important question is to ask, does the service provider have back-end security measures in place to keep your data safe? The thing is, you do not want to have data leaks, right? You do not want people to actually take your data and really do something with it. I mean, with hackers and all this sort of crazy stuff going on, you want to make sure your LLC information is secure. Another question you want to ask here is that you want to really ask them, how quickly can you access your information? See, the whole thing is, when we talk about LLC information, we're speaking about all kinds of data, right? The data can be broad, it can be deep. It really depends upon the type of industry you're in. It also depends upon the content of the mail. So when we talk about LLC mail, again, we're speaking about all kinds of mail items. The bottom line here is that you need to have a conversation with your digital mailbox service provider from the get-go. So if you can clarify things from the get-go, then everything becomes a little possible, a little transparent for every party, for you, but also for the service provider. What I want to say here is that one of the major benefits, based on our experience, of using digital mail and document solutions is actually accessing information quickly in useful formats too, because it's not just about accessing information quickly, but if you don't have the right format, you're not going to be able to process the data and actually make use of the content in the mail. Okay, so you want to find out how long it will take to see your mail content from the moment you request an item to be scanned, because you can request an item to be scanned, let's say today, but you do not want to get the data, let's say 1 week from now. You want to really get things as fast as possible. And also, you want to make sure there has to be an option to automatically scan all content, because otherwise you can't really have a clear idea about how they are actually managing your mail, your LLC mail. So you want to have that option. And you also want to understand how long does mail forwarding take. So in case you want to forward your LLC mail, you want to have a clear idea about the speed, about the timing here that we're speaking about. And can you access your LLC mail on a mobile device? You have to be able to access your LLC mail on a mobile device. Otherwise, the whole point is, I mean, it's not really optimal, because honestly, you want to be able to manage your LLC mail on the go. Boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about how to choose a digital mailbox service for your LLC. Other questions you might want to ask the service provider included, for instance, what is included in the plan? So basically, if you sign up for a virtual mailbox plan, you want to have a clear idea about the details when it comes to when it comes to capabilities, when it comes to features. You want to find out the price of a plan, but you also want to understand exactly what's included for that price. So price comparison of different services isn't always easy. And sometimes it's not always apples to apples. So think about what features you will need. Do you want to have mail scanning, mail forwarding, storage, shredding for your LLC? And make sure you understand the pricing structures associated with those plans and features. The thing is, sometimes some of those virtual mailbox providers, they want to really sort of complicate things or sort of confuse the customers, but you want them to really explain things to you step by step. So it's important to have a clear idea. Make sure you understand clearly what's included in each pricing plan that you have. Another question you might want to ask is, you want to ask them, do they provide other services you need? Let's say your LLC might need other services besides digital mailbox, right? So for example, some virtual mail services also offer the ability to automatically deposit checks for your LLC or pay bills received in the mail. So these additional services can help you get money faster and reduce the possibility of late payments. And especially if it depends upon if you are a single member LLC and you're traveling the world and you're just running your LLC remotely, then this could be pretty interesting for you. And also, just remember that a virtual mailbox can help create flexibility and efficiency in your life, but only if the service you use prioritizes those values. So think about how you want a virtual mailbox provider to improve your LLC experience, managing your postal mail, and use these questions to find a solution that can meet your needs. The bottom line is, they need to provide stuff that you need, stuff that your LLC will find let's say, beneficial in the short but also long run. Let me give you a few pro tips here. A virtual mailbox may be a great fit for your LLC if, for instance, you want a better solution for managing your LLC postal mail. So if you have a giant stack of unsorted mail right now, then a virtual mailbox might be a great choice for you. And a virtual mailbox will not only reduce your paper clutter, but also turn your mail into searchable PDFs so you can always find what you need. Especially when if you have an LLC that sort of processes a voluminous amount of mail, then you really want to pay attention to finding a solution. And this can also be great for you if you want to keep digital records of important documents. You can avoid the time-consuming process of scanning in documents that may not be the best quality. With a virtual mailbox, you get every document as a high-resolution, searchable PDF. And if you want any original pieces of mail, you can just request they be forwarded to you or physically stored. Again, you are outsourcing an important part of mail management, and you have a third party who is specializing in this sort of things, handling those things for you. Also, if you travel frequently, if you manage your LLC, your single member LLC, or your multi-member LLC from multiple geographies, then you might want to think about a virtual mailbox. If you travel a lot for work or pleasure, you might get tired of asking your neighbor to pick up your mail or putting on hold at the post office. And again, especially if you receive packages regularly for your LLC, having a virtual mail solution with the ability to accept packages can be useful. So once you know you'll be home for a bit, you can request the packages to be sent to your home address. Again, this is just a lot better. And also, I'm not even talking about privacy here, because there are certain things you do not want your neighbors or your family members to know about, especially when we talk about money, okay? And when we talk about sensitive data, also sensitive LLC data, you do not want third parties, even family members, to know about that. So it's just a lot better to outsource the handling of those things to a third party that has experience doing those things. So I just explained to you what a virtual mailbox may be a great fit for your LLC. I want to talk to you now about a virtual mailbox may not be. Let's say you want to, how do I say this? Let's say you are trying to really find out exactly what happens, and I want to talk to you about when this may not be a good fit. So when can a virtual mailbox may not be a good fit for your LLC? Well, if your LLC wants to have, if you want to keep control of your mail, you want to have a clear idea what's really happening with your mail, then it becomes a problem. In other words, if you haven't found a virtual mailbox provider who can give you the level of security that can help you out, then you can really do things yourself, or it's just a lot better to find an alternative solution. If you are in an industry where regulators pay a lot of attention to data privacy, and they want you to really have a clear control over the whole process from A to Z, then you might have to do certain things yourself. Or you might have to think about an alternative way to manage things. For example, you might have you might hire a virtual assistant, for instance, to kind of help you out, instead of actually delegating the whole task to a third-party virtual mailbox provider. You can just have a virtual assistant take care of things for you sporadically. There's another way where your LLC might be better off not having a virtual mailbox. That's if you are basically, your LLC is present in multiple countries, not just states, but multiple countries. If you have multiple countries, that means you are a foreign LLC in a lot of jurisdictions. Then it becomes things become a little complicated here, because then you're going to have to manage things at various levels. The same problem arises if you have, let's say, multiple LLCs. So you have you are one person, but you have, let's say, 10 LLCs or 20 LLCs, and you have an LLC for instance, for each real estate project. Then it becomes problematic for you to actually use a virtual mailbox. And also, if you are a multi-member LLC and members of the multi-member LLC do not agree on using a virtual mailbox, then it's not really a good way to use this service. Okay, this is really important. So the bottom line here is that you need to always make sure that the services that you use is in sync with the priority that your LLC has. This is really, really important. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I explained to you how to choose a digital mailbox service for your LLC. So I gave you the overview, the decision, and the pro tips. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.